At first glance, they look identical. Two liquids, clear, clean, and almost innocent, like water pretending to be something more. But have you ever wondered why one chooses to stay in absolute silence, while the other carries the wild scent of a forest after the rain? How did a spirit that started as a strange medicine, born from faith and blueberries, become the quiet obsession that shaped the nights of a city like London? The real reason lies in a paradox. While vodka hides behind its purity, gin speaks. It carries the warmth of ancient herbs, the memory of fire, and the touch of the hands that crafted it. Today we're diving into the hidden secret of how something so pure became something so human, and why we call this aromatic fire by the name of gin.
I'm Edward, and this is QC Project Simple Things.
To miss its soul entirely. It is a sophisticated conversation between raw spirit and ancient sense. Every drop begins with the humble and the ordinary, wheat, corn, and barley. Through the trial of fire and the virtue of patience, these grains are stripped down to a clear, sharp, and biting liquid. But in this craft, that liquid is only the canvas, cold and empty. The magic happens next, when distillers breathe life into the still, infusing it with roots, herbs, spices, and citrus peels. But above all, there is one ruler, a small, mysterious blue fruit called juniper. These berries are the heartbeat of gin, tiny messengers of the wilderness carrying the primal taste of pine and the freshness of rain. Without them, gin loses its name, its identity, and its very reason for being. Every master distiller guards their secret recipe like a sacred oath, balancing the spice of coriander with the sweetness of licorice, or the earthiness of orris root with the fragrance of rosemary. This is where chemistry is abandoned and poetry begins, and that is the quiet, haunting beauty of gin. It doesn't just smell like a drink, it smells like a memory.
It doesn't just taste like alcohol. It tastes like a craft perfected over centuries.
And then we have the name, gin. It's short, sharp, and simple, almost too modern for something with such deep, ancient roots. But its history stretches back centuries, beginning with the French word genévrier, meaning juniper, which the Dutch then transformed into jenever. It was the very berry that gave this spirit its unique, unmistakable voice. The true turning point came in the 1600s, on the blood-stained battlefields of Europe. When English soldiers fought alongside the Dutch, they discovered this potent, aromatic spirit, a drink that didn't just burn, it smelled like bravery. They called it Dutch courage, a liquid armour used to steady their hearts before the chaos of battle. When they returned home, they brought the spirit with them, and in typical English fashion, they shortened the name. Jenever was stripped down, becoming the one-syllable word we know today, gin. It's a small word, but inside its brevity, you can still hear the rustle of the juniper berry and the distant echo of those first men who drank it to find strength in the face of death. Long before gin became the star of modern bars, it lived a quiet, sacred life inside the stone walls of medieval monasteries. In those dark times, the juniper berry was revered as a divine healer. It was burned to cleanse the plague-ridden air, boiled to soothe aching stomachs, and carried as a lucky charm to ward off death itself. It was around the 11th century, in the sun-drenched hills of southern Italy, that Benedictine monks began distilling wine with juniper. They weren't trying to craft a drink, they were creating a cure. They didn't know it then, but in those copper stills they had just planted the first seeds of a global legend. Centuries later, that seed caught fire in the flatlands of the Netherlands. Dutch alchemists began distilling grain spirits, infusing them with the essence of herbs and juniper to create jenever. It was more than medicine. It was comfort for the weary soul. By the 1600s, a Dutch physician named Franciscus Sylvius claimed to have perfected it as a tonic for the kidneys. But, as history often shows, when a medicine tastes this good, it quickly finds a more spirited purpose. When English soldiers arrived to aid the Dutch in their wars, they found their bravery in a bottle of jenever before charging into battle. They called it Dutch courage, and when the wars ended, they brought that liquid fire back to the shores of England. By the late 1600s, England didn't just drink gin, it fell in love with it. When the Dutchman, William of Orange, took the English throne, he opened the floodgates by encouraging local distilling to replace French brandy. The result was explosive. Gin flooded the cobblestone streets of London, cheap, potent, and everywhere. For a period of time, it was no longer just a beverage. It was an escape for the desperate, a fire that warmed the shivering poor, and a chaotic force that began to worry the rich. The water of life had officially become the spirit of a revolution. If history gave gin its name, then chemistry is what gave it a soul. Every drop of gin is born through the trial of fire, distilled over and over again until every impurity is stripped away, leaving only a spirit that is clean, sharp, and fearless. But that is just the beginning. The true magic happens when the alcohol rises as a delicate vapor and begins its journey through baskets filled with life, dried roots, aromatic herbs, and sun-ripened citrus peels. The heat gently draws out their essential oils, their deepest scents, and their memories, blending them into the spirit like a whispered secret shared in the dark. This elegant dance of evaporation, condensation, and reunion is where gin finally finds its voice. Some distillers call it alchemy, others simply call it art. Every maker guards their botanical recipe like a sacred map, a landscape of flavors known only to them. They use coriander for a touch of spice, orris root to ground it in the earth, and lemon peel to bring in the light. In this world, if you change just one single note, the entire symphony shifts. Among all these creations, one style rose to define the craft: London Dry Gin. It is clean, crisp, and honest. No added sugar, no artificial sweetness, just the pure, naked harmony between spirit and nature. It is gin at its most sincere. In the old days, master distillers worked by raw instinct. They would listen to the rhythmic bubbling of the copper still and judge the perfect moment by scent alone, not by science. Back then, each batch was a living, breathing thing, never quite the same as the one before. Today, gleaming steel often replaces ancient copper, and digital precision replaces human guesswork. Temperatures are now tracked to the smallest decimal, yet the ultimate goal remains unchanged: to capture that fleeting golden moment when vapor turns into spirit, and spirit finally transforms into gin. For a liquid that is so crystal clear, gin has carried more confusion and contradiction than almost any other drink on earth. There are those who believe it is strictly the spirit of aristocrats, a world of polished crystal glasses, crisp tuxedos, and the smooth notes of quiet jazz. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In the dark alleys of 18th century London, gin wasn't the luxury of the rich, it was the desperate escape of the poor. It was a cheap, burning comfort poured into rusted tin cups, earned with the last few coins of the weary. They called it Mother's Ruin, a name that whispered of the chaos and heartbreak it left in its wake. Then there are those who claim that gin is simply vodka with herbs. But to say that is like calling a masterpiece of poetry just words with rhythm. While vodka is a spirit stripped down to a state of absolute silence, gin is a spirit rebuilt with scent, with life, and with deep-seated memory. Its creation is slower, more deliberate, a profound conversation between alcohol and the wild forces of nature. And of course, the endless argument remains. Is gin truly British, or is it Dutch? The answer, much like the drink itself, is a complex blend. The Dutch were the ones who birthed it as jenever, the original medicine. But it was the English who gave that medicine wings, transforming it from a tonic into a culture and eventually into a global obsession. In the end, gin belongs to no single nation. It belongs only to those who truly appreciate what happens when purity dares to dream and decides to find its own voice. Every great fall invites a spectacular return, and for gin, that comeback began with a quest for clarity. In the mid-19th century, a new standard was born, London Dry Gin. No added sugar, no artificial sweetness, just pure spirit and absolute honesty. It was this refinement that finally washed away the dark stains of the gin craze and gave this spirit back its dignity. But the true stroke of genius came from the most unlikely of places, the British military outposts in India. Officers there had to drink quinine daily to fight off malaria, a medicine so bitter and unpleasant it was nearly impossible to swallow. To make their survival bearable, they began to experiment. They mixed the quinine with a little water, a sharp slice of lime, and a generous splash of gin. The result didn't just sparkle in the glass, it sparked a revolution. And just like that, the gin and tonic was born, transforming from a desperate medical cure into a timeless social ritual. Fast forward to today, and we're witnessing another golden age. Across the globe, passionate distillers are crafting small, intimate batches, infusing them with the soul of their own lands, from the exotic citrus of Japanese yuzu to the delicate fragrance of Spanish orange blossoms. Each bottle has become a storyteller of its own soil. In this modern world of endless flavours, gin has evolved into a boundless canvas for creativity. It serves as a profound reminder that in the world of craft, simplicity is never the end. It is only the beginning of a magnificent imagination. Clear, pure, both born from the union of grain and fire. At first glance, they are two spirits that seem identical until you listen closer. We often speak of vodka when we talk about purity, but perhaps it isn't really vodka we mean.
What we are truly drawn to is what hides behind that veil of purity.
Vodka is absolute stillness. It is a spirit that chooses to disappear into silence. Gin, however, is a conversation. It refuses to forget. It keeps a trace of the earth, the scent of the rain, and the warmth of the hands that crafted it. It remembers every stage of what it once was: medicine, memory, and profound meaning. Perhaps that is the ultimate difference between the two. Vodka spends its life seeking perfection through subtraction. Gin? Gin accepts its imperfections, embraces the wild complexity of nature, and turns them into a symphony of flavour. Now I want to give you the 10-second rule for gin. This isn't just about drinking, it's about decoding the map of flavours hidden inside that clear liquid. The next time you hold a glass of gin, I want you to spend those 10 seconds not as a casual drinker, but as a master distiller. First, spend a moment swirling the spirit and watching how it catches the light. True gin, crafted with care, should be vibrant and alive. Second, take a slow, deep breath of its aroma, but don't let the alcohol overwhelm you. Look for the layers. You should first hit the sharp, piney scent of juniper, followed by the bright spark of citrus or the earthy hum of roots. Finally, take a tiny sip and let it coat your entire palate. In just 10 seconds, you aren't just tasting alcohol, you're tracing the journey from the forest to the still. High-quality gin doesn't just burn. It unfolds. It reveals its secrets one by one, exactly like the medicinal cures and ancient memories it was born from. So, next time you see that clear, innocent-looking liquid in a glass, remember that it isn't just alcohol. It is history distilled. It is a spirit that has burned through the plagues of the Middle Ages, found its courage on the battlefields of the 17th century, and survived the chaotic streets of London to become a global icon of craft. Gin teaches us a profound lesson, that perfection isn't always about being pure and silent. Sometimes true beauty lies in the complex layers of our imperfections. It is a reminder that even the simplest things, when infused with nature and history, can carry the scent of a forest and the memory of a soul. If you enjoyed this journey into the aromatic world of gin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with a friend who appreciates the deeper side of the things we drink. Also, make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a single secret from our upcoming stories. Tell us in the comments, are you a fan of the silence of vodka or the conversation of gin? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'm Edward, and thank you for watching QC Project.
Remember, history often hides in the smallest details, and every simple thing has a secret waiting to be told. Stay curious, stay kind, and I'll see you in the next story.